Good day, colleagues. I would like to show you our latest addition to the Bazoo resource material. We've branched out to the grade 1s with our differentiated and leveled reading series. Isn't this exciting? Bazoo is going to grade 1. I am very excited to show you this material, but before we do that, let's just talk about Bazoo, the brand. Bazoo is a South African produced, developed product. So we can actually say it is born and bred in South Africa. So the characters and the animals that we use, the learners know these animals, and so they can relate to the characters much easier. Also, we focused on the South African context. We've looked at, as a Bazoo team, we sat down and we brainstormed all of these challenges that a South African teacher will face in a classroom. For instance, the learner sitting in front of her on the mat, they come from different backgrounds. They have different experiences and different exposures. Some of them even, colleagues, and you know this, some of them even their home language and the language of learning and teaching is not the same. So if the LOLT and the home language is not the same, there is definitely different challenges. And we know that it is our job as developers and as a publisher to support teachers in leveling this playing field. We want all our learners, and I mean really all of our learners, we want them to succeed, and we want to give them the skills and the sub-skills and the strategies to read with understanding. And so when we teach reading, like we do in grade 1, we explicitly teach reading. We really want to give them the opportunity to succeed. So as a Bazoo team, we focused on all of these challenges. How can we support these teachers or mediators? In the CAPS document, they talk about the mediators. How do we support them in leveling this playing field? How do we support them in building confidence? Because a lot of these learners, they come from home to grade 1. Some of them, they were in grade R, but even the quality of the grade R experience differ. So how do we support the teachers to build learner confidence? Because if they have confidence, they will risk reading. They will risk becoming independent readers. And that is why, colleagues, I am really excited to share with you one of our titles. Colleagues, this is definitely a group guided reading series with a twist. And as I share the books with you, you will pretty soon find out more about this twist. But this is definitely a reading series where we focus on integration, balance, and learner-centered. So let me show you these wonderful books. Our level 1 reader, indicated with a 1 dot, is a wordless book. Now I know there's a lot of debate around wordless books, but we, the Bazoo team, we believe that the learners on level 1, they should create their own texts so that we work on their functioning level. And also another thing, if there's a group of learners in your class or in your group that are proficient readers, they can also create their own text, more difficult text with these wordless books. At the back of our readers, we have different activities and games. These activities and games, colleagues, are on different levels for the different readers. And so our level 1 reader, our activities is on a more perceptual skills level. So a lot of the perceptual skills are included in these activities and games. Whereas our level 2 readers, the activities and games, and I mention games because we believe in play-based learning. And so that is why we included games and activities. And these games and activities can be used as pre-reading activities and games or post-reading activities and games. and there is definitely progression in these activities and different games. So we can use the wordless book for our level 1 readers or the level, let's say 5 readers. Our level 2 reader, indicated with the 2 dots, is the easier text. As you can see, I see a flag climb onto my shelf here, and so on. Our level 3 reader is a bit more difficult. The sentences are a bit longer and the vocabulary a bit more difficult, as you can see. And our level 4 reader, indicated with the 4 dots, are definitely for our stronger readers. As you can see. So colleagues, what we've added to this is a teacher book, which is a bigger book, A4 size, easy for you to handle while you work with the different groups. Now our teacher book has the same text as our readers, and this is a flip book. So in the one book we will have level 1 and level 2. In the teacher book you will also find the info page where we discuss the pre-reading, during reading and post-reading, and also the vocabulary, context words and high frequency words. You can of course add more words or not use all the words. With your expertise and knowledge, you will know exactly how many words your learners can cope with. But we've added what we feel is necessary for the learners to read with understanding. Colleagues, now what we've added to this reading series is the letter and sound detective book. This is our phonics book. We know that surface structure and deep structure is both important if we want our learners in the end to read with understanding. Remember, they are all going to write the very same matric exam, and so we need to equip them with the necessary skills. In order for them to read, they need the phonics, and so we decided we need a phonics book integrated into this reading series. And in all our titles you will find the letter and sound detectives, and in this one they will try and find out where did H, the O and their friends go. On the cover page we have some of the sounds that are hidden, and so this is also part of visual closure. As we discuss the cover page, we are also focused on some of the perceptual skills. A sound is missing. Who took it and why? And so now we, with the learners, find out which clues can we use to find the sound that is missing. Ooh, what can this be? Can this be a letter? Of course, it can be a or a, we don't know. But now we look at this one. But this can be a or a But if we look at this one, we have an idea. It cannot be a or a So let's find more clues. Bazoo the detective is looking at these words, and so I can use these words to scaffold the learners. So I can ask them, I'm going to say a sentence now, but I'm going to leave out a sound. Listen carefully for the sound that I'm going to leave out. So here's the sentence. For example, Leon, he cannot see Bazoo, so he's shouting, help, help. And so the learners will say, no ma'am, it's help. And they will come to the conclusion that the sound is help. And then you go through all of these words. This is also a clue for them. By now they will have an idea of the sound that is missing. And also we focus the attention on this yellow dot here. What is this all about? What can it be? Because this is also a clue in who took the sound. And this is not a right and wrong answer, because predictions during reading is not right and wrong. We adapt as we go along. Then we turn the page, and they will be shouting by this time which sound is missing. It is the sound, and they will see which sound is missing. And as a group, we will all say the same sound, and then we go over to this activity. I write it in the air, I write it on my friend's back, I write it in the sand, I write it on my hand. And so this is also sensory integration, because phonics is about sounds and letters. What do I hear and how do I write this? So this is Mona's notes, and she's going to write down the letter. And as the book progresses, they will find out what is the possible word that it is going to form. Now colleagues, I'm not going to read the rest of the book to you, because then I'm going to give away the whole plot of this detective story. But at the back of the book, there's also tips for you on activities that you can do for consolidation and reinforcement. So that is our reading series. But like the advert says, wait, there's more. What we've included in this reading series are these black and white booklets. Now, if you just look at these booklets, it seems like, what's the big deal with this? But colleagues, I know you sometimes don't want to send home the readers because they don't come back or they're damaged and so on. But the learners need to practice at home. They need to go and brag at home. Look, mommy, I can read my book. And that is why we included these black and white books. The learners can color the book in for fine motor skills. I know fine motor skills is more than just coloring in, but for this activity, we focus on coloring in. So they will color in the book, and then also they will trace the letters to form words, to form sentences. And we've added the arrow there so that they know where they must start and they do their own sentences. And then they have their own booklet with the same text to go and read at home. Imagine in this pandemic that you had readers like this. Learners could have their own readers at home and we could just send activities to do. Then we've also added one with no text. The reason for this, one, the learners that are able to can copy the sentences from the reader into this book, because we know that reading and writing are interrelated, interdependent processes. The one needs the other. The more I read, the better I write. And also with phonics, they need to listen to the sounds and be able to write this, so they can copy the sentences. Or with our level 1 readers, they can only have one word. That is why we didn't put text in this one, because you can decide which book you will hand to which group. Now these readers, colleagues, I would like to think is part of our twist. And this is something that adds value and can support you in scaffolding these learners and giving them more opportunities to practice. Now colleagues, that is our Bazoo reading series. But where do we start? Where do we start with these reading lessons if I want to explicitly teach these learners to read? And we start with pre-reading. Now pre-reading is not just something that we do because we must do it. Pre-reading is a very important part of explicitly teaching reading. Now, in reading, there's a very important, I want to call it critically important principle. And that is, the more I bring to a text, the more I take from a text. Even if you are a good reader and you read with understanding, this is also applicable to you. I want to give you an example. My husband, for instance, is in IT and he's into programming. So if his books are lying on my table and I pick it up, I recognize the words. I make sense of it in a way. But I don't fully understand what is in that book. Does that make me a bad reader or struggling reader? Of course not. I can read with understanding. But because I bring too little to that text, I take too little from the text. Imagine I must write an exam on that books. I don't think I'm going to pass. So colleagues, let's think of the little ones. They sit in front of you. They don't know what this is all about. A chameleon. Maybe they haven't even heard this word before. And now I'm going on and rambling on about chameleons and all of that. So our pre-reading phase is where we prepare them for the reading. And yes, there's a lot of colleagues who believes that this is spoon feeding. No colleagues, this is where we scaffold them. This is where we give them more so that they can make connections, visualize and make sense of what we are about to read to them. So in our pre-reading phase for this story, for instance, I will use my chameleon, and that is why our main character's name is Leon, for chameleon. So I will show them what a chameleon is all about. Or I can do it in a fun way. I can put it in a bag and they can feel, a feely bag, and they can feel and guess and ask, and I can show them a part of it, which is also visual closure. I can show them the front part or the tail, and they guess and they get to chameleon. Or I can show them pictures, or if I have an interactive whiteboard, I can show them that. But something where I can introduce the topic, the vocabulary, and of course the text type, but this is a story, so we'll probably do that more in the post-reading where we will focus on beginning, middle and end. But the characters. So I will introduce topic, vocabulary and the characters. So that when I read the story, they have a better idea. They bring more to the text. So we don't just start, maybe in other countries this works well, but in our South African context, where the learners that is sitting in front of me are all on different functioning levels, I need to bring them to more or less a common understanding, leveling the playing field. And then I go over to my during reading. So now I will have my group in front of me. The rest will be busy with the activities that is here in the book, pre-reading activities. Now you, from your experience and knowledge, you have already decided with which group do you start. Whether you start with your group 1 or your group 2, 3 or 4, wherever you start. I prefer to not start with our level 1 readers. The only reason for that being, while they are busy at the table and I'm busy here on the mat with the other groups, they hear what it is all about. And when it's their turn to come to the mat, they bring more to the text. So when I ask them to create their own sentences, they've heard a lot of what is happening in the other books. So colleagues, we will read I have a pointer here, we will read with our learners and they will read with us, and we will go through that whole process of teaching reading while we are working with our different levels. But now I just want to go back to our level 1 readers. When it's their turn to come to the mat, we must remember that they must create their own text. And so we will give them opportunity to give us sentences, and then we decide as a collective, as a group, which sentence will become part of our book. When they give us a sentence, let's for instance, they say, Leon is missing. Now we will count the words. Leon is missing. 3 words. with which word does the sentence start? And they will say, Leon. So with which sound? If I say Leon, Leon, which sound do you hear first? So we are busy with phonemic awareness. So we take them right back to the level of phonological and phonemic awareness. And when I write this, and I write in front of them, I write these sentences down. I ask them again. So I'm going to write it now. Where will I start? And I go through that process until we've completed the text for our wordless book. Then we go over to our post-reading phase. Our post-reading phase is where we really reinforce and consolidate. So they have an opportunity to, with their readers, go back to their desks with the readers and read the story on their own, or do the activities that you will explain to them, the games or activities that you would like them to do. They also retell the story to us, and we have our Bazoo hand puppet here, so they can read the story and retell the story to one another, or you can use the puppet to tell the story to them, but this is all part of post-reading. We also know that not all of our learners are on a level where they can go directly to semi-concrete, which is the activities in the books. Some of them need more concrete activities. And so I've added some of the apparatus that you already have in class and use in class. So they will first build words with the letter bag, use the letters from the letter bag and build words, or some of them, or you will even have that plastic letters there which they will you will scramble and put down, and they will find it and then build their words. We can also use our word builder, where we write our, let's say for instance the story, I will write the names of the characters here. I will write let's say sick, lost, tired, so on, and I will write a sentence here, and they will tell me whether it's the truth or whether it's untrue. Or I can build words with this. I can put a letter here and a vowel here and a letter, and they can show me, is it a word or is it not a word. And this, colleagues, can be used for surface structure and deep structure. So for comprehension activities where we write sentences, or for surface structures if we build words. This can also be used for word building. And these apparatus, the puzzle pieces, this is a very good example of scaffolding learners, because I can write it in different colors and mix and match, and so they have two opportunities to get it right. They can look at the color or they can look at the shape and also experience success, because remember, this is also about building their confidence. Confidence building is so important, because they must be willing to come to the table so that we can teach them to read. And this is something that I forgot to say earlier and which I want to include now. Our storybooks, same title, different levels. So even the struggling learner will look at the rest of the groups and see, but we are reading the same story. And this for them is so important. I'm not reading this one and you're reading that. We are all reading Leon Goes Missing. That is part of our twist in our reading series and part of our very important building their confidence. Then I've also included this. Not all of our learners enjoy sitting at a desk and doing activities. They want to jump around. Our kinesthetically learners, they want to jump around, and we can write our words on here. For word recognition, we know word recognition is part of our 5 components when we teach reading, and we can use this with the whole class. So colleagues, when we create a context, when we activate the prior knowledge in the pre-reading, we do that with the whole class. And you save time, Because now you don't need to go back to this group and they are doing a story that is in the zoo, and I need to create a context around the zoo. Then I need to create a context around the hospital. Then I need to create a context around the circus, because they're all reading different books. No, with our reading series, you create one context with the whole class, and then during reading, I break it down to their different levels and functioning levels. Colleagues, then we also know for these learners that, and not just for the learners who loves jumping around, because gross motor skills are also very important. We've added our Bazumba, because Bazoo loves dancing and reading and so on. So our Bazumba, where they jump around, also educational of course, left and right is in there, and movement. We can include that wherever you wish to, whether it is from one level to another, at the beginning, while you're doing the pre-reading, you include that when you feel most comfortable.
Make a crunchy sound, do the tortoise shuffle, left, right, left. Now we have some boomba, we call it the Bazumba.
Colleagues, I feel like once again saying, but wait, there's more. For the Bazoo team, sustainability is very important. And so we've decided that we are going to create a platform where teachers can access the Bazoo Book Club. Now, what is the Bazoo Book Club all about? This will be a platform where we can share best practices. This is a platform where we will upload more activities, more ideas of what to do with the Bazoo reading series. And also, if you have any questions or challenges, let's say you've implemented and you are struggling with an aspect around the reading series, then there will be a space for you to ask your questions and we will respond to that. So our Bazoo Book Club is absolutely there to sustain the reading series, and we are very excited about this because we feel that we will be a part of your support structure. Colleagues, but how do you access this platform? How do you get in touch with us? You will automatically be a part of the Bazoo Book Club if you use our reading series. So if you use our reading series in your school, you will automatically gain access to the book club. And that, colleagues, for us is a big wow and a part of our twist, I hope. Remember, reading is about both phonics and to create a love for reading. So enjoy this journey with your learners. Enjoy exploring all Bazoo's different stories and activities. Thank you.
Make a crunchy sound, do the tortoise shuffle, left, right, left. Now we have some boomba, we call it the Bazumba.